Everyone, we're going to start momentarily. Oh, it's noon. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Hope Hartman, the Executive Director of the Colorado SBDC serving Larimer County. Welcome to the AI Curious webinar, Smarter Money Decisions Using AI for Financial Analysis and Insights. This particular webinar is not about accounting training and it's not about bookkeeping training. It's really to position AI as a thinking partner for financial clarity and decision making. For those of you who are new to the AI Curious series, these are designed to deliver up to 20 minutes of content. I'll encourage engagement through the chat throughout. It might take us up to half an hour, and then I will stay on the line afterwards for any remaining questions. So I'm going to ask that you hold your questions till the end of the content. Thank you so much. Okay, financial insights matter. Most of you business owners, you have data at your fingertips. It just may be that you lack some of the insight. AI can help turn numbers into clarity, trends, risks, insights, and options. It's going to help you translate your numbers to give you better financial insight, which helps you make better decisions. It's not about being perfect, it's about greater insight. So, what I'd like to do before we proceed in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 5, I would like you to determine how confident you feel about using your financial data to make decisions. So 1 is 0 confidence, 5 is 100% confidence. 3 is somewhere in the middle, and you can gauge the 2 and the 4. So if you wouldn't mind just putting, and there's no judgment here, I'm just curious where this particular group is at to see what we might be able to glean from today's webinar. So I'm just keeping my eyes in the chat. These are pretty high. I'm impressed. But again, no judgment here. If you're somewhere else, there's hopefully something here for everyone. Anyone else want to put where you're at on that confidence scale of 1 to 5 with gleaning some data to make decisions? Okay. We've got a range here. It does seem like we have a lot on the higher end of confidence, which again is great. And again, if you're just starting out, like, I don't know, that's why I'm here. My goal is to give everybody at least one golden nugget to walk with at the end of our time together. Thank you for your participation. Okay, so one of the first ways you could use AI to help you with some financial insights is with bookkeeping and expense tracking. Now, again, this isn't about accounting or bookkeeping, but let's look at a few of the examples here. It can turn your raw data into usable inputs. So it can assist with expense categorization. So if there's any bookkeepers on the line, or if you have a bookkeeper, they will really appreciate this because all of your expenses need to be categorized. Vendor analysis, whether you need to consider new vendors, if a vendor has been increasing prices, you worked with a former vendor, there's a lot of different ways that you could use that. Trend detection, all kinds of trends, right? Increased expenses, lowered expenses, what's going on. You want to always kind of have a good close beat to what's going on with your the trends in your expenses. It could spot anomalies. I've sat in on sessions before where a business owner said, I don't understand why the travel expenses are so high because I've put a pause on all travel. These things happen. Sometimes you don't know unless you're looking at the details. Identify rising costs, right? Everybody has to increase costs at some point. Which one of your suppliers or vendors are increasing them year over year, and to what percentage are they increasing them? It could also help flag duplicate or unnecessary expenses. I don't know if this happens in your business, but I know it definitely happens to people on a personal level where sometimes they're paying for the same subscription twice, or they sign up for a single user and then maybe they added employees and they forgot. So it's really good to keep on top of all of this. So AI can support your organization, again, categorization, and just give you greater visibility. Okay, you also have maybe some specific tools. I'm thinking software or reports. You might already have all that you need at your fingertips. So, for example, if you are a business owner on the line and you have accounting software, this could be QuickBooks, Xero, Wave. These are some of the top 3 that we know that small business owners use. We're not endorsing any particular product. These are just what we see out there. All of those programs have AI features right now. So I encourage you to take advantage of those subscriptions if you're paying for those. Take a look at those features. Maybe this is what will prompt you to start exploring those. You could also export from those CSV files or other spreadsheets, or maybe you're at a point where right now all of your information is on a spreadsheet, depending on the stage of where you're at. Then we have outside tools, right? Other applications like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude that you could use in combination with some of the data from those tools or your spreadsheets. Okay. This can include all the information, your categories. Well, let me backtrack for a minute. If you're like, well, I haven't played with the tools in my software subscription, I want to give you examples of some of the things it could do for you, because maybe this would move the dial on what decisions you want to make moving forward. Do you need more help with your expense categorization? What about invoice generation? Goodness, I've done those by hand. I would love it if that was automated. Cash flow predictions, we'll talk more about this. Noticing recurring transactions. Receipt scanning. Who wants to do what I have to do where I work, which is take the paper and go put it under the copier? I mean, come on, let's use our technology to help us. Those AI assistants and those platforms might even be able to generate emails to clients. Okay, what I'd like to know in the chat next is, and I hope you know enough about your expenses, what expense category surprises you the most each month? And that could mean a lot of things like, oh, I forgot I have this annual fee and it just popped up, or that was more than what I had expected, or more than what I had budgeted. What is that expense category for you? If you wouldn't mind putting it into the chat. I always love to see real world examples from our business owners. What expense category surprises you the most? Or maybe it's lower. Maybe it's lower than what you had budgeted, and that's always a delightful surprise. What are your thoughts? Just keeping my eyes on the chat here for a minute. Subscriptions, yes, especially those, like I have one that's a 2-year subscription, and I'm always shocked how quickly the 2 years go by. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, $500. What else have we got? What else are you all thinking? What expenses, what categories? Field supplies. Okay. And I know we have a lot of different industries out here, and I appreciate you sharing some examples. Amazon. Oh my gosh. Yes. There's always something. Any other examples of categories that surprise you? Insurance, right? Industry memberships, yes. Travel, so many variable costs. When contracts end and they raise the monthly invoice, yes. I really appreciate you all sharing some of these, and you might also be triggering thoughts for other people on the line. And I think that's a great learning opportunity for all of us. Now, I want you to just imagine, this is more sort of a mental activity. If you were uploading last month's expenses, and I'm curious if you could just think about what changed compared to the previous 3 months and why. So this, again, it's just a mental exercise. This is just kind of developing that acumen of really keeping up with your financials and not letting too much time go by that you're feeling caught off guard. And if you can't think of anything, this is maybe a personal call to action, a CTA for those of you who have marketing experience, to maybe start reading your reports every month to identify trends and anomalies. So I'm going to give you an example. Someone hasn't started your business yet. That's fine. So this will give you good insight going in to really set up a strong foundation. And I'm going to ask again, if you can just hold your questions to the end, because I promise to deliver content within 20 minutes within these micro webinars, and then I'll stick around for questions. So I want to encourage you to know your expenses well enough to know when those anomalies occur and why. I'll give you an example of the service center I run. In December, all of our advisors do pro bono advising. So I don't get invoices for the month of December. A lot of people go on holiday as well, right? So I know my January expenses are going to look very different. But compared to the 3 months before, right, end of the year, we have a lot of activity. For some of you, that might be a real strong period in your overall annual cycle because of all the holidays that stack up at the end of the year. I realize all the cycles are different depending on your industry, or if you're in ag or retail or whatnot, but really knowing when there's a shift and why it occurs. Okay. let's look at another example. Cash flow forecasting. Okay, so we're talking about using AI as a tool to gain insights or to conduct some analysis. This allows you to see what's coming before it hits. So this might be a shift for some of you. Instead of just checking the bank balance, or especially for those of you first starting, there's nothing more exciting than your first sell. It's so exciting to see that, whether you're looking at e-commerce or your bank statement or somebody walks in the door. It's such a satisfying experience. I'm a former business owner as well. That's great. I want you to have those celebrations. You need things to celebrate. But this is about a shift in your mindset to think about forecasting, of always kind of looking ahead and planning ahead so you don't get caught off guard. So whether you've been in business for 1 year or 5 years, you have data. You have access to data right now. And I am curious for those on the line. It sort of helps me gauge who's out there. Can you put how many years you've been in business in the chat? I would just like to see what's represented here today in our micro webinar. And if you haven't gone into business yet, you can put a 0. That's fine. Okay. Okay, 3 years, 2 years, 11 months. So right now, what I'm seeing is what we consider startups. Anyone from 1 month to 3 years, we consider still startup phase. And then I see some 5 years, and the 33, I don't know if that's years or months, but we've got growth stage and then maybe that long term. Okay. And some people there's a couple people just getting started. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Again, I'll try to gauge some of my examples geared towards some of these various stages of business that you're in. Okay, so in regards to forecasting, and we're envisioning, we're imagining, but we want to use data to help us. We're not just pulling it out of thin air. So I want to encourage you to start with some short-term forecasting. You can use AI to help you if you have never done this before. So I've worked for an investment-backed company. I used to be in the software industry, and you have to show investors your 5-year performance. You are literally projecting 5 years out. They want to know there is a market. They want to know you are going to make money. I recognize that doesn't apply to everyone here, but I'm just telling you, it's possible to do forecasting, especially short term. But what you're going to use is data coupled with AI to do that. So AI is great at recognizing patterns. And I'm not sure what the level of experience is with AI, but that's how it's trained. It's looking for patterns. For your business, it's going to be able to identify the seasonality. You probably already know that. Some of you that are real early stage, you will know that after your first 1 to 2 years. You'll see it will identify your slower months. It can also you could look at like what if scenarios. Okay. And there's a lot of different examples for that. I'll be sure to share some more, but the what ifs could be a positive or a negative. What if you make more money? And what if you hired someone? What if there is some kind of a disaster? What does that mean? And we could define disaster in a lot of different ways. Somebody leaves your company, a natural disaster. Okay. Economic disaster. You could use reports like your cash flow statements, your AR and AP, which is accounts receivable and accounts payable, aging to, again, help with understanding who owes you money. What money do you owe? Help me project. Let's look into the future of the implications for my business. You could also consider just a simple 12 weeks cash flow spreadsheet. If you're like, I don't know about this, Hope, AI is going to lighten the load for you. Okay. So do you typically know, this is something I'd like to see in the chat. Do you typically know your cash position 30 to 60 days ahead? So again, this is just yes or no. You either know it or you don't. And again, no judgment. I recognize that business owners are busy. Right now we got 50-50. Any other responses? Do you know your cash position 30 to 60 days ahead? Okay. And you're one of the ones that's getting ready to get started. So that's awesome. If you know it for your personal life, that's probably going to translate into your business life. Awesome. Matthew, thanks for sharing that. I think that's another reason why we're here today. It's like, is there one thing we could do to maybe change the dial in the new year?
I'm on a webinar.
Okay. And if I just want to mention, if you've accidentally
using AI
for mute yourself, I'm going to go ahead and mute you just because it's creating background noise. Okay. So for the next 6 months. Okay. So we have a variety there. So we talked about some scenarios. Again, I think I have another slide dedicated to this a little further down, but Just this is an exercise again for you to think about. What if scenarios? What if your revenue dropped 10% over the next 60 to 90 days, right? Or what if it increased? Again, for any of these scenarios, you take the positive or negative, whatever one maybe challenges you more or you think is more realistic. You could use AI to take your financial data and say, what if this happened, the increase or the decrease? What do I need to change? What do you suggest? Okay. All right. So financial statement analysis, this is where we can move from just reports. If you have the tools, oh man, there are so many reports you can generate. But what do they mean? And I think that's where sometimes business owners struggle, like they know they need it, or somebody asks for it, or your bookkeeper or your accountant. But how can you use that data? And I want to try to normalize, if we can't just for a few minutes here today, reviewing financial statements and consider how AI could even explain those to you. So this is another thing. You take one of your reports and you go, okay, I've heard about P&L. Somebody told me I need this for the bank or I want to apply for a loan. I really don't know what this means. Like you can read the English, you can read the numbers, but what are the implications? What do you need to be thinking about differently? That's part of when I say financial analysis, I want to help you understand how you can look at that information differently. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with certain aspects of financials. No one's uncomfortable with making money. We all have different experiences with that. But if you are someone where you're like, I'm not really sure what I'm looking for, AI could be a place to help you get your initial understanding. But the other thing is, we have bookkeeping and financial specialists in our networking staff. And if you don't know, if you are new to the SBDC, if this is your first exposure, all of our advising is one on one, it's confidential, it is no cost to you. So I encourage you to go back to our website and look for those people. They would be happy to meet with you and help explain some things. Okay. I get very passionate about some of these topics. Let's keep moving along because our clock is ticking. Okay. So after AI has looked at examples or the AI tool in your accounting platform, you've decided to test it out, it's ran some analysis. Here are some other questions that you could further prompt the AI. What's improving? Just based on the numbers alone. What's improving for your business, right? Keep doing that. What's weakening? Okay, you want to know that. Can you help make it stronger? What deserves attention now? Right? Is it that sales have dropped or sales have gone fine, but your expenses have increased? What do we need to do here? Right? So if your P&L, your profit and loss statement could talk, and I realize some of you again are you're at early stage, maybe you haven't even started, but most of you have. In the chat, if your P&L could talk to you, what question would you want answered? All right, so this is your profit and your loss. Again, I don't know where you're at. If you know where your profits are at, if you know how much profit, if your losses were like a short term, long term, what would you ask that statement? Just put it into the chat. Any questions you'd want answered from that information? Like I know some of the businesses I've ran after a year, it's like, I actually really want to know where the real profit is. And I found out that about 60% of the activity is not where the profit was. It was the summertime activity. That is where I earned all of my profits for the entire year. But it took me a full year's worth of data to understand that that was the key. How long till I break even? Yes. Great question. Okay, we'll keep moving. We're almost at our 20 minutes. There's so much. Okay, I've maybe given too many examples, but let's keep going. AI can help with budget, planning, and scenario modeling. So here are many examples that you could use to test decisions with AI before you make them. You are faced with decision making every single day, right? You could use it to create a budget, to redo your budget. If you've already been in business, maybe you need to redo it, revise it. Model your costs, your one-time costs, your variable costs, your monthly costs, your annual costs. We already talked about those subscriptions. Are they monthly, annual, every 2 years? Pricing scenarios, hiring scenarios, right? What happens if you increase your prices? How much? Do you need to do it every year? What about outsourcing? Is that temporary? Is that a long-term fix for you? Increased prices versus reduced expenses, maybe both. Investing now or later, equipment, people, so many decisions. But AI could lower your risk. It's almost like a decision simulator. So before you actually act upon it, you could take a look at what that would mean and if it's something you want to act upon. So you could use various tools. You could look at your budget report versus your actual report, scenario spreadsheets. There are tools that will create scenarios. LivePlan is a tool we use. It creates financial scenarios. What if I buy in bulk? How much do I need to make before I can hire someone paying them X salary? All right. You could ask AI to generate some comparisons, maybe other companies within your same industry. Okay. You could ask it to go, what happens if I hire another employee or I raise my prices by 5%? I'm going to keep going because we're just a little, I knew we'd be going over 20 minutes when I engaged in the chat, but I just want to be very mindful that I don't keep you more for 30 minutes in case you need to get back to other things that you're managing. So we're really big on action items at the SBDC, right? We all have lots of ideas. There's something that inspired you to start your business or to get it started, but it's so important that we execute against those ideas. And you don't necessarily need a financial overhaul, but you could take one small step to further your business with some newfound financial insights. Okay, so here are a few examples. You could export one report. If you're like, I don't usually do that, I have a bookkeeper that does it or a teammate does it. Well, I'm going to encourage you or maybe challenge you, depending on if you prefer to be challenged. You go in there and generate a report, right? Because that could be what you use with the AI tool, right? And you could ask AI, maybe you do your profit and loss. What stands out? What do I need to further investigate? It could be as simple as that. And if you have not used a lot of AI, it works fast. You're going to be shocked. Okay. You could create a basic cash flow forecast. And if you've never looked ahead, I think at least one person was like, I've not really done this. I want to get better at it. Just do 30 days. You don't have to do a whole year. If you're not an investor backed company, you don't ever have to do 5 years. That's required with that industry. Not for you. Maybe your first step is a 30-day forecast. Maybe you want to do a 90-day. You want to do it for the quarter. You could identify your top 3 cost drivers. Now, I want to think many of you business owners already know that, but maybe you don't. It could be your stage of growth. Maybe you're not sure. Maybe you have a suite of products or services and you're like, I don't know, we're just doing well. But what are your top 3? I know my top 3 cost drivers right now at my service center, without a doubt. Okay, you could run one scenario tied to a real decision, not make believe. I want you to really ground this in the reality of what you are trying to do. So again, is it how much money do I need to make if I want to make a new hire and pay them X salary? What would happen if I haven't raised my prices in 2 years and my costs and supplies have increased? I need to raise prices, but you don't want to lose customers, right? So you could run through 2%, 3%, 5%. Or you could come up with like, what if I raise it by 1% over the next 5 years instead of doing 5% all at once? There's so many. You could even have AI brainstorm scenarios for you. Finally, you could just schedule a monthly 30 minutes. So what happens with the business owner, because there's so many things you're juggling, you run out of time. Trust me, I know this. I've been there. Put it on your calendar to say, I am going to do a finance check-in with AI. Again, whether it's in the subscription software, QuickBooks Wave or Xero, or you've got a spreadsheet and you're going to use your ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or Copilot, and you're going to ask it to do some analysis. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier, we are very sensitive to personally identifiable information. We call that PII at the SBDC. We don't put anything, your client information is confidential. For you, when you are looking at your financial data, one of the things I wanted to call to your attention, if you have the names of employees on any of these spreadsheets, I want to ask you to anonymize that data. So maybe it's employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, especially if you're using the free versions, because that is open to the model. You're helping train the AI model unless you have a closed system. So we just recommend protecting private information. But otherwise, you might say, well, I don't want to put my company name. But then if you start talking about your industry, the AI is going to go out there and scrape your website. It's going to scrape your social. We had a client recently say, I never told it my name, but I'm the only one doing this in my region. And it just started talking to me like through the name of my business. It knew who I was. So again, a lot of data at its fingertips. So I'm just curious, for these 5 steps, which one of these might feel the most useful or doable, useful and doable to you, let's say in the next week? If you took a full 7 days, which one of these steps do you think you could do just to start moving the dial on some gained financial insight or analysis for your business and your decision making? See what we got here. I'm just checking the chat. Basic cash flow. Anyone else have one of these steps that you think you could do within 7 days' time? Let's see here. Cash flow forecast or cost drivers. Building a budget. Basic cash flow. The 30-minute meeting. A scenario or building a budget. Yeah, I'm working on the budget. What if for future investment? Absolutely. I have to work on the budget. I'm not writing my own bit. The SBDC is not my personal business, but because I am a former business owner and I've also been a shareholder of companies, I take a lot of personal responsibility. I look at my budget every year and do projections, and then I check literally monthly and quarterly. I'm checking my expenses monthly, all of that. I'm walking the walk with you, but I know you have a lot more at stake. Okay. Thank you for your participation. So I'd really like for you to consider AI as an ongoing thinking partner, especially if you're new to AI and you haven't done anything yet. It does not replace accountants and bookkeepers, and that's not what I'm suggesting, but maybe here's some takeaways. Better questions that you can ask it will lead to better decision-making for you. Remember, it can lower the risk to think through those decisions before you act upon them. It can improve your understanding. Again, there's a report that you generate and you're like, I don't know what this is. Ask AI, please explain this to me. Explain it to me as if I were an 8th grader. You can do that. It also speeds up insight to help you make those smarter decisions, right? If you're like, oh my gosh, I've lost money. I didn't realize the last 2 months I've lost money. That's unusual. We just came out of the holiday season. I need to cut expenses somewhere, right? I need to lower my cost, or I need to increase prices, or I need to find a new vendor, right? Okay, so better questions are going to lead to better insights, which help you make better financial decisions, right? We want to improve those outcomes for you. So the numbers always tell a story. It's just maybe not as colorful as our marketing stories, or when people walk into your business, or they talk to you on the phone, or they go to your e-commerce site. It's not as colorful, but they absolutely tell a story. They hold answers for you. And I really want to encourage you to experiment with AI to help you understand what those answers mean for you and how it can help you make better decisions moving forward. Okay, I want to thank you for joining. The time sure does fly when you're having fun. These are all the people that sponsor our local SBDC. So I always want to give out a shout out to our sponsors. Again, I'm Hope Hartman, the executive director at the center, and I was planning to hang out for about 15 more minutes. So if there are some questions, I'm happy to try to address those. And I think I will stop sharing the screen right now. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope this was useful.
For a little bit of your wax current, and was just wondering if we could.
And somebody is not on mute, so we can hear you.
Thank you so much.
There's so many people on the screen, I can't see where it's coming from.
I suck at it.
Let's see here. I'll just mute right there. And for those that jumped off or jumping off, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining today. A recording. So what we typically do with these recordings is we turn them to on-demand webinars. Thank you so much. So what we can let you know, I think we could send a link and a follow-up. Thanks for asking. I hope it generated a lot of ideas and something that you feel you can move forward with today.
Hi, Hope. This is Becky. I did notice that there were a lot of questions asked in the chat in between where you were asking for questions.
Mm-hmm. Were there any, because there's a lot to kind of, Becky, was there one in particular that popped out to you?
I'm looking.
Can you talk? So I see one that says, can you talk about using AI for creating an operational budget, or is it assumed we're already doing it? You can absolutely use AI for creating an operational budget. So one of the things I like to do anytime I've had a few of my own businesses, I like to just brain dump and brainstorm. But if you're like, I don't really know, or maybe you're new or it's a new industry, the first thing you could do is ask AI to brain dump. What are all the expenses I need to think of? Are these one-time costs? Are they monthly costs? Are they variable costs? Right. So it could absolutely do that. You could mention the positions that you need on your team and what the market rate is for those positions. Or if you were going to hire a third party contractor, what is the average hourly rate for those services? Or please look at local bookkeeping companies. I don't know if they post their prices, online, but absolutely you could use AI for that. And I'm going to tell you, it will save you a ton of time. There's nothing wrong with going through it yourself because it's going to increase your awareness and understanding, but AI might catch some things that you don't catch. And if you don't have time to first generate it yourself, start with AI and then go back in and fill in further details. And then again, where you start to, the operational budget is going to be over a 12-month cycle, right? So then you're going to have to look at, again, not knowing the business, are there purchasing cycles? Are you buying in bulk, right? Are those variable costs? What's the range? So anytime I have a variable cost, I take the highest range. So I am budgeting for the highest expense that might happen, hoping that it won't be that high. Those costs that only happen once a year, and you plot those out. Okay, let's see here. The slides, we're usually when we post a recording on demand, we actually don't include the slides because the slides are in the recording. Okay, does the SBDC have workshops for small business hands-on experience? Okay, so Lori, in regards to the workshops with hands-on experience, do you mean specifically with using AI? Let's see here. Yes. Okay. So thanks for asking. So I launched a new class at the end of last year called the AI Learning Lab. We haven't been able to do them every month like I was originally anticipating, but the idea with those is that you bring your laptop, you bring your AI tool of choice. Sometimes the free versions can cut you off. So I do think it's a little bit better if you have a paid version. Plus, that will get more specific to your business, and you can turn off the learning model if you want to. And those topics vary. So we've done operations, we've done strategic planning. I was planning one around this topic, but we decided to postpone it. We are going to do one on creating marketing content. I mean, there's so many things we can do. The one thing, Lori, that I will say though, and it's something that I am deeply considering, we always get people that register. There's typically a small fee and only half the people show up. And it's a new trend at the SBDC. We've never seen so many people pay and not show up. And so we don't know if it was the timing, end of the year holidays. We're not really sure. So I'm considering taking those virtual. So that's another reason why I wanted to pause this month, because I thought, well, maybe we can reach more people if we do it virtually. There's just something about being in a room together and like sharing the screen and like, look what it prompted me to do. So there will be more. Yeah, you're welcome. You'd be interested? Fantastic. No, I am. There's something about that spontaneous, what goes on in a room and what you discover and being able to share your screen with someone else. But you know what? We have technology for a reason, and we can cover a lot of ground virtually as well. So I'm always open to experimenting and trying new things. However, we can best serve you. Okay. Well, and just because I can see her right now, if you can see, Bonnie Johnson is one of our advisors and she's a bookkeeper. So if you're like, what's this SBDC advisor thing all about? There's one of our friendly faces. She's very knowledgeable. And so, if you're like, I kind of want to explore this more, but I need someone to kind of sit beside me virtually or whatever, you know? So there's one of our advisors, and we've got other advisors on the line too. They're just not showing their faces. Okay, I would like to use AI to write a business plan. Yeah, so a lot of people are doing this. So I'm just going to give a tip while we're here, and I know we have some more established business owners, but we have a lot of new people on the line. AI can be really helpful, but it is so important that you read that plan, because we noticed a trend last year where people were coming to us, they were meeting with advisors and going, look, I have a business plan. It's 100 pages long. We don't want to see that. I can't be any more honest. That doesn't mean that it's good because it's 100 pages. In fact, I would take that and put it in AI and go, give me a 1-page summary of this plan. You can lose some great insights if you use AI to generate the whole plan. So take it step by step, right? And do the research and combine your research with what AI is suggesting and fine tuning it. A lot of people start businesses based off of something they have deep experience in. AI doesn't know that. It doesn't have that context, right? It's going to use very general information that's out on public sites. So I think there's a harmony to be said there. I think it can save time. Yes. We use a tool called Live Plan with some of our cohorts. We have a program called Leading Edge. It's all about building a business plan. We take a different topic each week, and then we use a software. And now that software has AI features, so you can give it your best shot. You put in what you think you know about your customers, and then you can ask AI. And then there's market research reports built in. So there's a beautiful harmony to be had here. Yeah, I'm glad you're laughing. I know the advisors are like, Hope, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, don't read it, return it, because it's also very repetitive. AI will say, and then we just know it's really generic information, and you want it to be more personalized, right? This is your baby. You're creating something new here that hopefully you care a lot about. Okay. Oh, Bonnie, what an interesting question. So, I mean, my gut is I was gonna say, I think yes, because I feel like there could be an anomaly or something there that the AI might catch on to. I appreciate you asking that question. I think we're all still learning. I mean, AI is moving so quickly, but I think it's like the more we test it and run through scenarios and all this, our confidence will grow with what we believe it to be capable of, or how we can act upon it, and it makes sense for our businesses. Oh, I can only imagine. So the one thing about your corporate background and starting your own business, corporations are great at having processes and systems. So whether you created them or you were just plugged into the system, you had access to those things, that will help you as a business owner. People, processes, and systems, that's the triangle I always think of with businesses, right? So you can use that to your advantage. It's just you might have to be creating everything from scratch, but you could use AI to help you. Use some of those good systematic best practices from the corporation, or maybe it'll help you with your brand consistency. Corporations are very good about consistent branding. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for joining today. We will put this available on demand. We usually list that on our training options through our website. And thank you for taking the time out. I hope there was something useful for you. As always, I wish you the best of luck with your business. And thank you so much for joining today. Thank you.